Okay. All right, welcome to Inside the Huddle, brought to you by Romo Athletics and powered by the Raw Athletic Booster Club. I'm your host, Tom Brown. Today, we are joined by the brain trust of Phelps County, maybe mid-Missouri. Don't know if we're going full statewide, but anything sports, this is what we got going on. We got JP Maxwell, host of the season ticket on ESPN 104.9. We got Tanner Dinsdale. He's the Bulldog announcer for 104.9. And we got the legendary Hall of Fame from the Phelps County Focus, Dave Roberts. Man, hey, thanks everyone for joining today.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
That's awesome, man. Great. So, JP, how long have you been doing season ticket?
We are at about 2.5 years now. We're about 120 episodes in, so you can catch that every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, live on ESPN 104.9. So yeah, it's been a great ride so far. It's been a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Glad you have me on there every once in a while.
Yep,
I like to talk a little
absolutely.
bit about the Raw Bulldogs and then show how little I know actually about some of the other sports that are out there.
Oh, come on now.
So, Tanner, man, you're a Bulldog alum, quarterback here, played basketball, golf, everything. So what year did you graduate? And talk about the sports you played here.
Graduated 2007. Played football, basketball, golf. Wish I could have played other sports. Never really. I was kind of a jack of all trades, not necessarily excelling in any of them, but enjoyed playing them all while being here at Rolla.
Dan, how long you been doing the play-by-play for 104.9?
This is third year, I guess. I'm a junior. This is my junior year.
Junior year.
This is my junior year, yeah.
And you're doing both football and basketball.
Football and basketball, yep. Home and away, and doing the girls as well for basketball.
All right, so Dave, you're kind of the veteran here, buddy.
I'm the dinosaur.
Not even the veteran, just the dinosaur. So again, graduated from Rolla High School in
1979. I used to take classes with his dad.
yeah. When you start,
His dad helped me through algebra.
Again, another Hall of Famer here for the Bulldogs. So you did football, wrestling. Was that you do track and field?
I did football a couple times. I was a little undisciplined, quit a couple times. Jets out and cut me. I've got the school record. I've been cut 3 times in basketball. Usually you figure it out when you're a sophomore, but I didn't. So, those are my records.
That's right. Those aren't bad records to have. And again, Dave covers all the sports for the Phelps County area, for the Phelps County Focus. Used to be Raleigh Daily News back when he did that, did his own stuff. Does a great job getting recognized for all the stuff he does. I know all the players and parents appreciate everything you've been doing for years, Dave. So definitely appreciate everything. So we're going to talk today. We got a game day here at 11 a.m. start time. The Kelly Hawks come up from the Boot Hill, Class 2 school, take on the Bulldogs. I don't remember the last time we've had a day game at Rolla High School.
I've never heard of a day game, to be honest with you, even Saturday. So it's new for everybody, and I think as this season kind of sums it up, there's a lot of firsts this year with Rolla not being in the Ozark Conference anymore, having to play schools that, next week we're on the road going to Mountain Home, Arkansas, and this is just one of the nuances of doing things a little different.
Well, so my question would be, Tanner, you're a former player. You get in a rhythm as a player, right? You're used to, it's Friday Night Lights. You're used to when game times are, and you prep all week for that. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but as a player, is there any translation to changing your routine, going from instead of playing Friday at 7 o'clock, that's when you're used to it and the rhythm of it, to all of a sudden now Saturday at 11 a.m., it's a day off. Does that have any effect on your routine as a player?
I would like to think so. I never played on a Saturday game. Didn't play college football, but the cool thing about Friday Night Lights is you get to go to school on Friday. You see all your teammates. You're around all the classmates. People talk about going to the game, and you're kind of amped up, whether it's a home game or an away game. And if it's an away game, you get that bus ride camaraderie with your teammates, and there's always a plan and an agenda per se that it helps you keep focused before game time. And having an 11 o'clock start is just different. They had to be here at 8:15. I know that for team breakfast, but a little different atmosphere when you're rolling out of bed and got to be ready to play a football game in 3 hours.
Dave, can you remember a day game?
Oh, yeah. We've had homecoming games. I remember playing Waynesville on a after Saturday afternoon.
Did you have a parade in the morning beforehand?
No, we didn't have the parade, but it's been done. This is our second stint as an independent. during my time here. So yeah, we've played some Saturdays. It's not. I think you would prefer Friday, but you get it done. I mean, they are kids. They bounce back quick, so they'll enjoy this, particularly if they win the game.
Exactly.
This will be something they'll remember. So.
Yeah, we grew up in a smaller community, so we sometimes didn't have always have lights where you played, so you'd have some of those day games. But the boys were up early here. Do drop in, donated the food for breakfast. Appreciate that. The dogs' dads jumped in, and some of the we call that's kind of a group we have. And some of the moms jumped in as well. Cooked up breakfast. Great job. Biscuits, gravy, pancakes, eggs. Had a couple Blackstones out here. The Haas master, Justin Haas, out there working his magic, man. You got to watch him. It was poetry watching him on that griddle doing his stuff today. But the boys got out here, did their normal routine, walkthroughs. Everything's been kind of standard from that moment after that breakfast, trying to keep it as much as they could to the pregame ritual. But yeah, definitely a big change. Big change for them. So what do we saw last week with Hillcrest. So the Bulldogs are 1-1, as is Kelly on the year. The first game against Festus, and the offense just never really got on track. It was rough. It was painful at times. We talked about that before. But it got rolling at Hillcrest, even though there was a lot of stoppages. I mean, we ended up winning 30-20, but it could have been 50, 60 points on that scoreboard. With you think about some drops, some penalties, some turnovers right inside that 10-yard line. Um, what was the difference between the offense in Festus and the offense at Hillcrest?
I, I personally think it's a culmination of things, right? The first game against Festus, uh, first off, Festus is a really good football team. That they won 8 games last year. They returned a lot of their key players, and you could tell they're a very disciplined football team on the offensive side and defensive side. Uh, but even given the fact that our offense wasn't on their A game per se against Festus. The Raleigh defense had only given up 13 points, late into the fourth quarter there. Yeah, they gave up the touchdown after the lightning delay, made it 20. But all in all, I honestly think it was a fairly decent outcome for the Bulldogs just because Festus being as seasoned as they were, and it's the first game. I remember all 3 years of playing high school football on varsity. It was like our first game was always a little rough out the gate. So I think to compete with Festus the way they did, it's you got to find the silver lining.
Yeah, Raleigh didn't play poorly against Festus. Festus was very good. They graduated. They had 4 All-Staters last year. They graduated 3 of them, but their speed and quickness was very evident in that game. Uh, their quarterback may be the best athlete we see all season. They had a middle linebacker that just, quite frankly, uh, dictated terms
Yep.
and was a big difference in that game. We like to run some power football so early on in series, soften them up, and that middle linebacker, there was no softening them up. They were very good. We did not play poorly against Festus. They were a better team. Hillcrest, um, Hillcrest is much improved over they were than what they were last year. And I thought we played, particularly on defense. Were you at that game?
Yep.
I thought defensively, now we had a couple breakdowns because they were athletic, and if you have breakdown against them, they're going to take advantage. But by and large, defensively, we really played well. Uh, our passing game is not there, hasn't been there yet. I think you'll see it today. Uh, you know, we need to be a well-rounded offense, and I think we're close. We're closing in on it, but we'll see this afternoon. But the first 2 games were 1-1. That's where we needed to be after 2 games.
I would agree with Dave's assessment there on the Hillcrest. Hillcrest last year, and in fact, I think maybe this year as well, didn't even have a JV football team due to participation. And Rolla rolled over them pretty good last year. But as Joe and I were watching Hillcrest warm up and watch the game film from the previous weeks, they're a pretty solid football team, and they've got a quarterback that is a dynamic dual threat. And but yeah, to Dave's point, that the defense is clicking, and the one major difference I saw from week 1 to week 2 was that there was a lot more energy out of the Bulldogs, a lot more pep in their step. They were excited to play against Hillcrest, and it was fun to see. So I look forward to them carrying on that momentum here this week.
And I think that's huge because if you look at that matchup with Fest, especially the first week, as you talked about, sometimes it can take a week or two as you're starting to figure out, especially your offense, when you have new players on that side of the ball. And to play a team like Festus first week, that's not an easy assignment whatsoever, right? So, and then all the different factors of, delay with the Lightning and everything else. And yet the fact that Rolla was only 2 scores down and had the ball in hand, mind you, with really good field position when the Lightning happened and they decided to delay the game. Who knows what could have happened if those final minutes play out? Maybe Raleigh pulls out the win. Maybe they don't. But they were getting that momentum. You were starting to see that confidence build. It seemed like that confidence carried over the next week to Hillcrest, as Tanner and Dave both talked about. Hillcrest, a much improved team. Also, don't forget Hillcrest is a former conference opponent, right? So they're very familiar with the Bulldogs as the Bulldogs are with them. And yet Raleigh still 10-point win, but it could have been much higher than that if it hadn't been for some of those mistakes. So I think one of the keys for today's game with Kelly is take care of that football. Do not turn the ball over. Keep the offense with ball in hand and try to work some time off that clock.
Yeah, we talk about the game. So the defense got 5 turnovers, takeaways from Hillcrest, which was great, big part of the game. Had a couple turnovers of our own. 300 yards rushing, over 300 yards rushing for the Bulldogs, and that was without having Hayden Emery, last year's leading rusher, have a big game up the middle because Hillcrest was so focused on trying to stop that first one. That opened up the counter, kind of those sweeps, things like that, and we saw some big plays from the Bulldogs. Had a big passing play to Jack Mrazowitz to start off the game. Just they went off on CP again. He's our explosive threat. Everybody knows about him, and he had double coverage, sometimes triple would slide over. No safety at the top, and then we had 2 other opportunities to get scores on that as well. Just so happened to drop. But I think you're right. Today, I think that passing game is going to be big, especially if Kelly's did their scouting and they've seen our run dominance. I think that's going to open up a lot. Outside.
Last week kind of showed the balance that they have in their running game. And what I understand, I don't know if it's this week or next week, we're going to add to that. We're going to have a young man that's coming in that's going to join that rotation. And so, I mean, we're going to be able to run the ball, but it's imperative for us to be able to. I mean, we have a potential all-state wideout.
Yeah.
And we've got to be able to get him the ball, and I think we will. I think that's going to happen slowly but surely. So.
Yeah, you're talking about Terrell. He's a sophomore, injured himself in the Gatorade scrimmage last year with a knee injury. And so he is finally cleared to come back. Going to be out there today. Should be get some snaps, got some reps in with the team, got into the, he's been on that, got the full contact in, has all this stuff in place. So I think they are planning on bringing him out today and get him some time. I know he's going to be dressed. So that's great to have. Again, just one more weapon out there when you had just such balance on the offensive attack. So defensively, we've highlighted that, man. The defense has been the bright spot, which I don't know that we could have said that coming into the season with some stuff, but it's there right now, doing a great job, and some big plays. So what do we think? What's our takeaways from the Bulldog defense so far 2 games in?
Takeaways, just what you said.
Yep.
That was the difference last week. You create turnovers. Really, you're your offense's best friend. So if that continues today, I think you're going to see a lot of scoring.
Yeah, I agree, and I've watched all the game film for the last 2 games on Kelly, and I mean the biggest thing that sticks out to me on Bulldogs defense, particularly in the Hillcrest game, is Caden Kinder not giving up on that big play right before half. That looked, in fact, we were where I was positioned in the booth. Yeah, where I was positioned in the booth was right next to the O coordinators from Hillcrest, and they had already taken their heads off and were high-fiving each other while he's running down the sideline. Caden Kinder didn't give up on it, pushed him out of bounds at the 1-yard line, and the Bulldogs holding him 4 straight plays on that 1 yard line is huge for anybody because, uh, particularly Hillcrest. I mean, they've got a 6'1", 215-pound quarterback that they just ran quarterback power, tried to run the option, and the Bulldogs able to shut him down all 4 times. That's huge for anybody's confidence. And then whenever you're going against a team like Kelly, their school only has 300 students in it, and it's class 2. But then you look at their roster, and they've got
They're massive.
they've got a lot of players, and I've watched their games. They've got a lot of athletes. They run a fairly dynamic offense that you'll see power high, and then you'll see a lot of 5 wide. They do motion, and their best athletes are their quarterback. But on the defensive side, it almost looks like they have 6 safeties that are playing because they don't have the D line. They don't have the D line that Bulldogs are used to going up against. So, I I anticipate to pound the run game early and then look to pass the ball later in the downs.
Well,
Yes.
I mean, this is live, right? I mean, we're live right here on the field, as you can tell. So one thing about Kelly that I find interesting, so both of their opponents they played so far coming into this matchup with Raleigh today are 2-1. They only scored 22 points in the win they had against Charleston, and then against Scott City they got beat 35-13. So I don't think, from what those stats tell me, that their offense is really turning at this point. So if Raleigh can take advantage, that's the key with takeaways, right? It's not only getting the takeaways, but then giving the ball back to your offense, getting points off those turnovers. If you get anywhere close to 3+ turnovers on the defensive side for Raleigh, I think this could be a walk-away win today, depending on how Kelly, if they do have a turnover, how do they come back on offense and try to counteract that? Because sometimes an offense can get more determined after a turnover and try to come back down the field. Sometimes it can deflate a team. And it's really about how they respond to it.
I mean, the Bulldogs' biggest task today is just going to be containing Kelly's quarterback. He's extremely dynamic. He likes to get outside the pocket. He doesn't. From all the game film I watched, he rarely sits in the pocket. It's typically there for 1 or 2 seconds, and then he's on the run. And he can throw the ball on the run. So safeties and defensive backs are just going to have to be aware of that. And I think the rest of the defense is going to be able to take care of it.
I'm from the Boot Hill, so we eat good down there. So I'm not surprised they're big. We have a lot of big boys down the Boot Hill, but their size will be one advantage. Another advantage that Kelly will have is um, they showed a couple of completely different type looks from week 1 to week 2. So Derek and the coaching staff will come in really not knowing what to expect because they showed some different things in the 2 different games. So you got to be ready for everything. So there's a little element of surprise. You you don't know. I tell you, I'm from the Boot Hill. My boss, Donald Dodd, is from the Boot Hill. And we had never heard of Kelly. When it was on the schedule, we were trying to we thought maybe they renamed Scott County Central because it's a Scott County school. But it's a tiny school, and really there's an unknown. I don't know anything about it, but so that they have a little element of surprise on their side.
And I'm sorry,
No, you're
Jesse.
good. You're good.
I'm honestly impressed with their offensive schematics. I mean, we talked about the size of the school, 300 students. The average class size is 85 students per class, and it looks like if you just divided all those in two, almost half of them are out here on the football field. But from what I've seen on game film, that they'll run power high, they'll run 5 wide, they'll put wide receivers in motion. They try and do a lot of misdirection, and try and keep their players in space. And I think it's a good test for the Bulldogs, especially going up against a tough Mountain Home Arkansas team next week on the road.
Yeah, and I really want to see if that Bulldog offense opens up, especially in the passing game, because the next 4 opponents, as Tanner talked about, starting with Mountain Home next week, tough schedule to have back-to-back these next 4 games. So this is your opportunity to go out there, see what plays work for you on offense, especially to carry you into those next games where you really can't make mistakes with those next 4 opponents on the schedule.
And especially without having the familiarity of the conference. So again, new opponents are all coming up. They're going to be scouting, use this game film. For us, they've seen a power game, and now if we can open up a little bit, gives them something to think about. Small schools, they always seem to be scheming week from week because they have to, and it's because you're always having to really match up because of the the personnel that you have. They don't have a lot of depth. They got a good sized team. A lot of those are going to be freshmen, sophomore. We pretty much are junior, senior dominated, and so that changes a little bit. But yeah, having that ability to flex, and when the kids can be that creative and understand and execute for a coach, coaches got to love it. Same thing on our defensive end, right? If we stick to what we've been doing well, the contain, the position, the gaps, sealing on there, coming up and moving fast, hopefully that'll be turnover, like we said, into turnovers and some big plays.
I would consider today a victory if we can just come out and execute and do everything at a high level. No sloppy turnovers, play consistent football, and we'll be in good shape. It's really easy. I mean, I remember doing it in high school as well, to overlook an opponent. Rolla's class 5, they were on the verge of possibly being even class 6, given our size, and going against a class 2 school. So, this is essentially, this is Kelly's Super Bowl. I mean, they're playing up 3 classes today against a team who's it's easy to overlook. So I think you just got to stay disciplined.
And they came up last night, so a big event for the kids. Come up, stay the night, got out here on the field, did some walkthroughs out here this morning, head back home. So yeah, it's a big deal for them when you get ahead of the city.
And that's where you can have an upset alert, right? Because if you're Rolla, you could overlook them. Whereas, for them, if this is a Super Bowl, they're going to throw everything they can at you to win this game. So you definitely have to be prepared for anything and everything when it comes from a school like Kelly.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be wrapping up here. We're going to get ready, get back up to the booth. Tanner's got to get his pregame going as well. But I want to recognize a few of the sponsors that we have for Inside the Huddle. So we got Dan Collier from State Farm. Dan's a great neighbor. He's also a great chain ganger. He's one of the members of the state's best chain ganger. You're going to see in action here today. Just a true pleasure for anybody at the game. Make sure you tune in. The chain game's dynamic. They dress right. They act right. And they actually move pretty good for somebody that looks as feeble as Dan is at times. Anyhow, great neighbor right there. Phelps County Bank, 100% employee owned. Love to have them on board. They like to say they're bankers by day and Bulldog fans by night. Now they're full Bulldog fans in the daytime as well. Go to their mypcd.com, find out more about them. We also got Juan's Skills Academy, man. You guys know Kobe Juan's, man. 2-time All-State Bulldog. Heck of a coach, heck of a skill developer. Does a lot of work with Ethan over the years. Guy's amazing. Give him a shout out on that QR code. And then also, in full bloom, they do balloon decor, backdrop rental. You see them at all the senior signings and events. They actually helped out today cooking the meals and stuff. So glad to have them on board. Again, always appreciate the Bulldog boosters that we have. So what we have now going into this closure, we're going to wrap up here. What's your prediction for today's score? I mean, I always hate doing that, but what's your thoughts about how this is coming out? JP, let's start with you over there.
I mean, again, it's so many different factors. It would seem like this should be a blowout win. And I do believe Rawls going to get the win, but I think Kelly's going to play a little better than we anticipated because of everything we talked about, this being the Super Bowl, and make sure Rawls doesn't overlook that. I can see Kelly at first really being ramped up, and then I think the Bulldogs will eventually just wear them out. So I see the Bulldogs come away with the win 27-20.
27-20, I like that.
I've got little different prediction, but I think the Bulldogs are going to be able to maintain the line of scrimmage, and I would like to see them get out early and then get some of those second string guys some playing time, and that's what I hope for. That's what I anticipate. I think they're going to win by 4 scores.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Dave, what you got, bud?
Blowout.
Okay.
Bulldogs, 36-7.
Wow.
There we go.
Nice. And
I hope Tanner and Dave are right. I really do, because I want it to be a huge win for Raleigh for sure.
yeah, I'm going 35-15.
Okay.
They're going to have, big plays on offense, going to have big plays on defense, and they're going to get a couple in there just because I think we're going to be aggressive on D and let that happen.
I would agree.
All right. Any final thoughts on today's game?
Just stay disciplined. Play football.
And
They'll be
don't
all right.
overlook. Be ready.
Exactly.
For everything.
I tell you, they've been out here all day. They've been, look like they're focused, ready to go. Kind of not that hyped up for the breakfast as you would think. They just kind of looked like they were just ready, kind of quiet, going through their motions. They just kind of like locked in, knowing that this is kind of the first day game and a big part of chance to get over that 500 mark. So, hey, thank you so much for joining us today on our first game day
Yeah.
live here.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having us, Tom.
Appreciate it. So for JP Maxwell, Tanner Disdale, Dave Roberts, I'm Tom Brown, and thank you for joining us on Inside the Huddle. We'll see you next time.